Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Conan the Barbarian, issue number 24. The year is 2025. This is Titan Comics. How am I enjoying the heck out of this comic book so much? How does a comic book keep on getting better with every issue? Oh wait, it's not. That's just my perspective. The comic has always been awesome. It can't get much more awesome, I don't think. It's just consistently excellent. This is the final issue of this particular story arc. I can't wait to see what's coming next. This story is not over, but oh wow, I'm enjoying this. Let's get talking about what happened in this issue. First, credit where credit's due. So we got Jim Zub doing the writing. We've got Ferocious Fernando Dagnino on art. I'm gonna talk a lot more about him in a moment. We've got Diego Rodriguez doing the colors, and we've got the very opinionated Richard Starkings and Comic Craft's Titanic Tyler Smith. I like how they did that. Anyway, they're doing the letters. So this particular story is part four, the nest beneath, from the nest of serpents, a nest of serpents story arc. Man, so all the stuff that happened before, you know, the Conan and Zula are trying to recover from, right? They're so they've got people looking for them because what's her name? Bast, Athir Bast, Mistress Athir Bast. She's like, go find them. They're somewhere in the city. Little does she realize they're beneath this city. Thothamon let it slip that there was something going on beneath the sewers. Guys, I can't give you all the spoilers in every comic book, all right? So that happened in the previous issue. I'm not going to give you all the spoilers for this issue either. So I'm getting you hyped so you go out and buy the comic book and enjoy. You better enjoy. This the sewers, there's a conversation here. If you're not that familiar with Conan, you'll understand Conan a whole lot better just in this issue alone. There is betrayal that Conan has to deal with, there is loyalty, there is magic, and there's a straight fight. All right, very different from other kinds of fight, the arena battles, the gladiatorial combat that he's been doing for the past couple of weeks, a couple of months, whatever it's been, right? This is a funny thing. Back when I used to do jujitsu all the time, before I sustained this career-ending injury, it's very hard to do any kind of martial arts nowadays, and I've been doing this stuff since I was 8. I remember a lot of people really, interested in boom, 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 and it was always with the gi, and it's like it's the no gi stuff that's really going to test you, right? But that's also stuff that's going to hurt you the most because you can't get a grip on anything. You have to actually grab like a trapezius. You have to actually, grab onto a hamstring. You have to actually grab onto a calf muscle and yank and all sorts of stuff like that, right? And even then, it's still not the same as a real fight because nobody's going to actually be trying to gouge your eyes out or anything like that. Even if you and the guy who trained me most recently is the only Canadian two-time UFC champion, right? And yet, even he's just like, yeah, this isn't going to be, the ultimate. Anybody who's ever been in a real fight, you know what I'm talking about. I've been in a couple of real fights. I grew up in Jersey, and and the Middle East is no joke. So it's a funny thing. Like Zub, one of the few writers, and I think I've made this comparison before. One of the few writers who've actually been in the combat arts is R.A. Salvatore. All right, the guy who wrote all the for the most part, all the Dred Stewarden books. Yeah, he was just a boxer. He wasn't a martial artist. He didn't do any flippy, dippy stuff. No, boxing is not a martial art. It's martial, but it's not an art. They'll say it's an art, but no, aside from some cute footwork, it's not an art, you know? Um, anyway, so even though he's not a martial artist, even though he doesn't know how to use a bunch of weapons, even though he's never actually been to combat, right? Because that's something that'll get you fixated. Think about the battle scenes in Lord of the Rings, all right? And I'm talking about just the book alone. J.R.R. Tolkien was in World War One. He was in the trenches in no man's land. Bro understands what it means to die. And just read the Battle of Helm's Deep alone if you want to get an idea of what actual combat can feel like, right? R.A. Salvatore is just a boxer, but he's able to understand what real fighting is and looks like and feels like, and then therefore translate it. That's what he's translating it from a real lived world experience of pugilistic combat. I don't know that Zub. I mean, it's Canada. Like how bad can it be up here? You know, been here for 10 years, almost 10 years. It ain't that bad. It's like 9 years now. But anyway, it's not that bad. You get some punks every so often, but I mean, give me a break. Walking down Toronto's like, give me a, nothing going on here. But he still somehow, it's like he must have known Bruce Lee personally or something, because dude has this incredible way of conveying the difference between, let's say, gladiatorial combat and a real fight. And this is not the first time he's done this. The way he describes the fights, for, you know what, honestly, maybe the artist actually has been in a couple of fights and understands. There's something going on when I'm reading these Conan books. Guys, I'm telling you, anybody who's ever been knee deep in really bad stuff, you feel like this is really happening. I don't know that you can just read about combat to understand that. I don't know if that's a possibility. Maybe. I mean, Hollywood's filled with stuff like that, right? Maybe. I don't know. But I feel like I'm there. I feel like I could be right next to Conan. You know what I'm saying? Blocking a blow that would have, vorpaled me, right? I don't know. That's a Dungeons and Dragons term. I've never heard of vorpal before. The advanced second edition with Thaco. Returning a blow with a long sword or something like that. It's wild how deep this can get. There's a villain in here, and there's more than one fight, but there's a villain in here where Conan has to deal with several different aspects of a fight, including things that we could never experience, like magic, right? I don't want to give too much about what happens in here. There's monsters. Every so often, it's one thing for Conan to be fighting off ruffians or, pirates or whatever he's going to be fighting. When the dude starts fighting some kind of a monster, and mind you, this is Stygian here, maybe snake related. There's something always so satisfying about fighting those forces of darkness. I know a lot of people don't really read the Bible, all right? But if you read the Old Testament and you see there's probably 24 different gods mentioned in the Old Testament. And all these people constantly failing, the one true God, and following the service of this god or that god, and taking into the sacrifices and the rituals of some other god, even if it's just something as simple as burning incense and spilling some drink in the name of this other god, right? These superstitious practices that are practiced. How even Solomon could fall for something like this. It's something else to actually see. This is almost like that, right? I mean, the word Dagon comes from the Bible. We wouldn't know anything about the god Dagon that was worshipped back in was it Mesopotamia? I think it was with the Canaanites, so a little bit different there. Anyway, there's a lot, and it's almost like you're seeing a biblical thing. And here's Samson, and you're just waiting to see if the Philistines are going to be able to catch him and tear his eyes out, like maim his eyes, right? There's something so special about reading these books Guys, this is the final story in here. If you get this one, it's not going to spoil what happened before. It'll make you demand your comic book retailer get those issues, or that he already has those issues previous to this. This is a story arc you're not going to want to miss. This is a finale you're not going to want to skip. I always talk about, can they stick the landing? Can they really make it so that I'm enjoying this comic book so much that even when this storyline ends, I can sit there and be like, oh yeah, that's a satisfying ending. And it does that and so much more with this. I realized a fear. I don't want Conan to ever leave Titan. And eventually it will. It's destined. It's going to happen at some point. But it's funny. As much as I liked Conan in Marvel recently, it was nothing compared to what it was back when it was originally with Marvel, right? The original time that Conan became a comic book. But it being here with Titan right now, it feels more Conan than any other time Conan has ever been there. We're not worried about crossovers with Wolverine and Thor. We're not worried about, what would happen if he ever met Doctor Doom and stuff. I don't need to see stuff like that. I remember I started to get kind of fatigued seeing them trying to push Conan on everybody and everybody on Conan. I don't need to see Conan mixed with the Marvel Universe. I've never needed that. I've never needed him joining the Savage Defenders or Savage Avengers and working side by side with Venom and stuff like that. I've never once asked for that, and I never once needed it. Seeing Conan in Hyperborea, seeing Conan actually being himself, feeling like Frank Frazetta is looking down on this artist right now and saying, my man, this is probably the best time for Conan in his history. Robert E. Howard himself would probably look down on this and say, why didn't I just do comic books instead of novels? And I'm glad the novels still exist. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that they were made, because that's what's really going to get your imagination. I feel like the comic books, if it was originally a comic book, it would have lined up too much. Instead, like set the standard too much. I love the idea they were novels first, so that when we could see these comic books, we could say, yeah, that is what I think Conan would say. That is what I think all of these people would actually do and what they would look like, how they would move and whatnot. I think this is a really good time for Conan. We're just along for the ride. All right, guys, that's going to be it for me. I want to see that you bought these books. Like the video and watch an ad. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.